When I took the job, everyone said it was a sleeping giant. Well, it is awake. This is what head coach G.J. Kinney said following the victory at the 2023 First Responder Bowl on December 26, 2023. Let's take a look back and examine why Texas State was called a sleeping giant and why it is finally being claimed to be awake. Before we get into it, I should admit that I'm very biased in making this video. I began as a student at Texas State in 2017 and graduated in 2021, so seeing this season unfold was a dream come true. This season, though, is a very interesting one for any college football fan or general sports fan. Right before we get started, please leave a like on this video and subscribe if you'd like to see more content from me. Texas State is located in San Marcos, a college town located on the interstate between the major metro areas of Austin and San Antonio. With a large student body and alumni base, many onlookers were confused about the relative lack of success so far on the football field. A recent move up to FBS football, with 2012 being their first season in FBS, Texas State entered the 2023 season as one of only a handful of FBS programs to have never competed in a bowl game. Texas State did have success in the lower divisions of college football, having won the 1981 and 1982 Division II national championships, and reaching the FCS semifinals in 2005. As an FBS program, they did win enough games to become bowl eligible in 2013 and 2014. However, the Bobcats were not invited to participate in a postseason bowl game due to their perceived low fan support. Entering the 2023 season, the Bobcats were in the middle of a stretch from 2015 to 2022 where the program had a combined record of 23 wins and 73 losses, with their best seasons coming in 2021 and 2022 with a record of 4-8 in both years. Following the 2022 season, head coach Jake Spavital did not have his contract renewed, and G.J. Kinney, who had just led UIW to the FCS semifinals, was hired to turn the program around. The coaching staff came up with the catchphrase, "Take Back Texas," as their slogan for this season and beyond, with the goal of recruiting high school players from across the state, which the previous staff hadn't focused on, and to bring former Texas high school players back to the state of Texas. In the offseason before the 2023 season, G.J. Kinney completely overhauled the Texas State roster, bringing in the second most transfers in the country, only passed in that department by Deion Sanders at Colorado. Many of these players, and a large portion of his coaching staff, came from his previous school, UIW. Some of the other notable players Kinney brought in were quarterbacks Malik Hornsby and TJ Finley, both from SEC schools. Ish Mahdi, Joey Hobart, and Bray Walker were some of the other key pieces that Kinney brought in over the offseason. The story of summer training camps ended up being the quarterback competition between Finley and Hornsby, with Hornsby being a speedy dual-threat QB, while Finley was more of a pocket passer, while still having enough speed and size to get some yardage on the ground. While there was optimism in the fan base for increased success this season, it was very much looked at as a transition year, with bowl eligibility being a long shot for this season. Even with this optimism, nobody was predicting what was about to happen over the next few months. The first game of the season saw Texas State traveling north on I-35 to Waco, Texas, to take on the Baylor Bears of the Big 12 Conference. This Baylor team had defeated Texas State handily in both of the past two seasons, and the Bobcats had never beaten a Power 5 opponent in the history of their program going into this matchup, so hopes were quite low going into this contest. Texas State was 28-point underdogs, according to the Vegas betting line, so expectation was for a dominant performance out of Baylor. G.J. Kinney and the rest of his staff had kept the depth chart for many positions as a mystery going into this game, so there were many question marks all over the field. The biggest one still being quarterback, as there was never a starter publicly named between Finley and Hornsby before the Bobcats took the field. Baylor kicked off the ball to start the game on this sunny 98-degree afternoon, and after a short return by Cole Wilson, the question that everyone had been asking was finally answered when we saw number 7 TJ Finley trot out onto the field with the rest of the offense. The first offensive drive was a 3-and-out, and Baylor then led their team down the field to the Texas State 1 until a goal line stand led to the Bears needing to settle for 3 points. During this drive, ESPN Analytics calculated nearly a 96% chance of a victory for Baylor. The next Texas State drive was much stronger, with the offense moving the ball down the field until TJ Finley connected with Ish Mahdi on a pass for the first touchdown of the season for Texas State. After that, the offenses started trading more blows. Both squads went back and forth, with each team lighting up the scoreboard, but Texas State brought a 28-13 advantage to halftime, and at the peak, having a 42-24 lead early in the fourth quarter. After that, the only question was if these Bobcats could hold on to secure the victory. Baylor scored a touchdown to cut the Texas State lead down to 42-31 and forced a punt to get the ball back with around 7 minutes remaining. They looked like they were going to cut even more into the Bobcat lead now, with backup QB Sawyer Robertson after starter Blake Shapen had been taking a beating all game. Robertson dropped back to pass on 1st and goal and threw it to the end zone, but was intercepted by Sean Holton at the goal line, and Texas State gets the ball back. All was not over though, as Texas State punted the ball back, only taking a minute off the clock, leaving Baylor with just under 3 minutes remaining. Baylor started back on offense with no more room for mistakes. Robertson on 3rd and 10 got off to a big run, and now Baylor looks to be back in business. With just a bit of time left on the clock, Texas State is going to need... Sean Holton punches the ball out and Caleb Culp falls on it. Baylor having 0 timeouts means that Finley only needs to take 3 knees, and Texas State has done it. They went into Waco and won their first game against a Power 5 opponent, doing it on the road 42-31. A historic start to the season for the Bobcats, and reason for celebration already, but the season was just getting started. The next game, they were back on the road, this time going to San Antonio to take on their rivals, the UTSA Roadrunners, in front of 49,000 fans in the Alamo Dome. This game was a much lower scoring affair, with neither offense really ever able to get rolling. UTSA started off the game with a 10-0 lead, but the Texas State offense was able to respond and even up the game at 10 apiece going into the half. The second half was more of the same, with UTSA eventually winning the game 20-13. Not a great follow-up performance for the Bobcats, but there was still reason to be hopeful, as this UTSA team was a strong one, just coming off of a season where they finished with a record of 11-3. Texas State's next matchup was against FCS school Jackson State, which had quite the interesting few seasons before this one. They had been coached by former MLB and NFL star Deion Sanders, who brought in a number of high-profile recruits to Jackson State, including his sons Shiloh and Shador, and two-way superstar and former #1 recruit in the nation, Travis Hunter. As many who are watching this video know, Deion carried a lot of media coverage and turned this program around, bringing the team to a 12-1 record in 2022 before he departed for Colorado in the offseason, bringing many players with him, including the 3 mentioned earlier. Because of his departure, this Jackson State team still had a strong core of players and coaches left over, but lacked the star power that they had under Coach Prime. Texas State got out to a hot start on offense in this game and never really fully slowed down. Ish Mahdi started off the scoring with a 56-yard run for a touchdown. Texas State proceeded to score a touchdown every time they possessed the ball in the first half, while giving up a few scores on defense to take a commanding 56-20 lead at the half. The second half saw the backups put in from the start, as the Bobcats cruised to a school record in their FBS era of 77 points scored. Although this game was against an FCS opponent, it was an important confidence booster to go out and score nearly at will the entire game. This was also a very exciting game for the program's fan base, being their first home game under new coach GJ Kinney with a re-energized crowd after their stunning victory against Baylor. I was at this game, and it was a brand new environment that I was not used to seeing. It really did feel like it was marking a new era for the program. The next game was a doozy, with the Bobcats' opponent being the Nevada Wolfpack, who were coming into this contest on a 13-game losing streak. Their last win actually coming against the Texas State Bobcats last season. While Nevada was obviously on a tough run, just last weekend they had looked strong against Kansas, only losing 31-24, so they weren't a team to sleep on. We saw this right away as the Wolfpack start off the game with a long drive, walking away with 3 points. But that's fine, because the Texas State offense, who just scored 77 last weekend, will be able to answer with the score. They drive the ball down the field to the red zone, and TJ Finley caps it off with a pick 6. Nevada leads 10-0. That's okay. We get the ball back and can get right back to moving the ball. Okay, 3 and out, and we punt it. No problem, our defense can hold them. To a 7-minute, 14-play drive, finally resulting in a Nevada touchdown. Okay, cool, we can start moving the ball again. Here we go, down to the red zone again, and it's 3 and 2. No problem. Now it's 4th and 1, and Finley just needs to get a... Alright, turnover on downs, but our defense forces a quick punt and we're driving again. 4th down again, but we got it this time, right? Nice, well at least our defense was able to intercept the Nevada pass at the end of this drive, so the damage is done for the half. Down 17-0 at the half to a team on a 13-game losing streak is exactly where we wanted to be. Because the Bobcats come out of the locker room and put on a great drive. And finally convert a crucial 4th down and cap it off with a touchdown to get on the board. After some sloppy play, Finley hits Cole Wilson for a monster 77-yard touchdown pass to cut the lead to 3. The defense comes up big, forcing a fumble to give the Bobcats decent field position to set up Ish Mahdi for a 46-yard run to take the lead. Another fumble by Nevada, and Texas State extends their lead. The teams trade touchdowns to end the game, but they did it. Comeback completed. It wasn't a pretty one, but Texas State moves up to 3 and 1, with Ish Mahdi leading the way with 216 yards on the ground. The next game is the first of Sun Belt Conference play. It comes against Southern Mississippi, who comes into this game with 1 win and 3 losses on the season. Southern Miss did take down Texas State in San Marcos last season, so the Bobcats are going on the road with the goal of getting revenge this season. On game day, the Bobcats got off to a blazing hot start. Ish Mahdi takes the opening kickoff of the game all the way to the house to get off to a 7-point lead at the start. The Cats only kept it going from there in the first half, scoring 6 total touchdowns before halftime to take a commanding 42-10 lead. In the second half, the Golden Eagles got it back together and mounted a strong comeback attempt. Their shining star was Frank Gore Jr., who is of course the son of 5-time Pro Bowler Frank Gore. Jr. ran for 123 yards on the ground and scored 2 rushing touchdowns. Overall sloppy play and opportunistic offensive drives by Southern Miss led them at one point to cutting the lead to 42-36 with 6 minutes left in the game. Thankfully for the Bobcats, that is the last points the Golden Eagles would score, as they were able to close out this game 50-36. Again, not a pretty one, but a win is a win, and the Bobcats pushed their record up to 4 wins and 1 loss. Next week, the Cats were up against Louisiana, who the Cats had never beaten coming into this game, and I will spoil this result, still have never beaten in 10 attempts in the past 10 seasons. This was another frustrating game, where the Bobcats looked strong and in control the majority of the contest, having the lead the entire game, including a 30-21 lead with around 7 minutes remaining. Everything came crashing down when the Bobcats had their punt blocked with about 4 minutes remaining, and the Ragin' Cajuns were able to score a touchdown to take the lead. The Bobcats set out an attempt for a 2-minute drill to retake the lead and secure the victory. Running back Jamel Jeter gets a first down on 4th to extend the drive, but the clock is ticking down. TJ Finley needs to pick up the pace on the drive, and does so by getting the ball to Ashton Hawkins, but he fumbles the ball. The Cajuns take a couple of knees, and the Cats lose their second game of the season. Halfway through the season, and Texas State is at 4 wins and 2 losses, already meeting their win total from last season. That beginning of season goal of playing in a bowl game was now in reach, just needing 2 more wins in their next 6 games. One of the key issues for the Bobcats this season has been their inconsistency within their games. Looking back at the Baylor victory, Texas State held a large lead and had to hold on for the clock to run out to clinch the victory. Against Nevada, a weak start led to Texas State needing to mount a comeback to get the W. Southern Miss was even more extreme than Baylor. They had their next attempt at one of these 2 wins against Louisiana Monroe at home. Mason Shipley capped off a long opening drive with a field goal to give the Cats the lead. This lead didn't last long, as ULM was able to score a touchdown to take the lead later on in the first quarter. 2 field goals in the second quarter, though, meant that Texas State was able to take a slim 9-7 lead to the locker room. ULM returns the favor with 2 field goals in the second half to take a 13-9 lead right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Texas State gets off to a great start to a drive and is in striking distance to take the lead. This is until the pass from TJ Finley is intercepted and returned for a touchdown to extend the lead to 11 points with just under 9 minutes to go in the game. The Bobcats get the ball back and get back to work, driving the ball to score their first touchdown of the game with a reception by Joey Hobart. The 2-point conversion fails, so they're still down by 5 points. The Cats force a 3-and-out to get the ball back with around 3 minutes, needing a touchdown to take the lead. After a couple of clutch third-down conversions, the Bobcats are set up at the 22-yard line of ULM with less than a minute remaining. Finley takes the snap out of the shotgun, steps up into the pocket, and finds Joey Hobart again for a 22-yard touchdown pass in the Texas State lead. Unfortunately, another missed 2-point conversion means that the Texas State lead is only 1 point, with ULM having 41 seconds and 3 timeouts left to get into field goal range. ULM gets off to the start they need with some quick yardage gain to bring the ball to the Texas State 40-yard line with 22 seconds remaining, only needing minor yardage to be in field goal range. Jaya Wright then drops back and hits his receiver for a 12-yard gain to bring the ball to the Texas State 28. Wait, what is this? A flag. Pass interference. On the offense! This brings the ball back to the ULM side of the field, and perhaps more importantly, the clock still ran down. One last chance for ULM on 3rd and long, with 4 seconds left, and Jaya Wright isn't able to make anything happen. Texas State finishes the comeback and secures the victory. 5 wins and 2 losses. 1 game away from bowl eligibility with 5 attempts remaining. If the Bobcats lost all 5 remaining games, this would still be their best record in nearly a decade. Next game is back at home against Troy, another team that Texas State has struggled against during their time in the Sun Belt. Troy comes into this game also at 5-2, looking to secure bowl eligibility. Texas State gets off to another strong start with a touchdown pass to Ashton Hawkins to take a 7-0 lead this game. After a turnover on downs, Texas State gets a drive going towards the tail end of the first quarter. Texas State gets down to the 4-yard line of Troy, but Finley throws an interception in the end zone, and Troy is able to convert the momentum into a touchdown of their own. The Bobcats do put together a few stops along with the made field goal in the second quarter to have a fragile 10-7 lead at halftime. I won't beat around the bush. The second half wasn't very interesting. Texas State only scored 1 field goal and turned over the ball 4 times, while Troy scored 24 points in the second half to win the game 31-13. Troy advances to 6-2, while Texas State falls to 5 wins and 3 losses, still needing 1 more win for bowl eligibility. Next up is Georgia Southern, who was already coming into this game bowl eligible at 6-2. Texas State starts off with the ball, and for the 5th game in a row is able to score on their opening drive, this time with a touchdown to Joey Hobart. Georgia Southern responds with a field goal, and then a touchdown to take the lead 10-7 early in this one. Texas State gets the ball back and goes on a very long drive to retake the lead. A turnover on downs and a touchdown brings the lead up to 21-10. Texas State then gets an interception on the first play of the following Eagle drive and scores a field goal to bring the lead to 24-10. The Bobcats then score a touchdown, and another touchdown, and another touchdown to grow the lead to 45-10. Georgia Southern scores twice in what turns out to be garbage time, and Texas State improves to 6-3, gaining that key 6th win to become bowl eligible. While this was a great win to gain bowl eligibility and hopefully attend the first bowl game in program history, there were still 3 more games left to go, so celebration needed to be kept brief. The next matchup for the Bobcats was against Coastal Carolina in Conway, South Carolina. The Chanticleers have been successful on the football field recently, and come into this game with a 6-3 record as well. The offense did what they have been getting in the habit of doing this season, and scored a touchdown on the first drive of the game. This time with a rush-heavy attack that ended with Jamil Jeter punching in the ball from the 1-yard line. The remainder of the first half was owned by the Chanticleers, with the home team taking a 21-10 lead at the half. Coastal Carolina received the opening kick of the second half and went on a 7.5-minute drive to extend the lead to 18 points. What took everyone off guard was the quarterback who brought the Bobcats onto the field for their first drive of the second half. It was Malik Hornsby, the other star transfer that the Bobcats acquired during the offseason. With Hornsby leading the offense, they committed even more heavily to the run, and didn't see much success with this until late in the game. Late in the game, the Bobcats were able to move the ball again for the first time since the opening drive of the game. Unfortunately, it came when down 21 points with 9 minutes remaining. They did score a touchdown with 3 minutes and 37 seconds remaining to cut the lead to 14, and got the ball back immediately with what I'm assuming was an onside kick. Look, there are no full replays of this game available online, and even the highlights for this game just cut straight from one touchdown to the next Bobcat touchdown, which you see here. Coastal Carolina does secure the ball the next time, and actually does turn the ball over on downs to give the Bobcats a chance with 17 seconds remaining. However, the Chanticleers were able to get the final stop they needed by tackling Connor Fox inbounds, and the clock ran out on this game. The Bobcats did enough to make this one look like a closer competition in the end, but the result was never really in question, as the lowest win probability in the second half was 93% for Coastal. The next game was up against Arkansas State, and look, I don't really want to talk about this one. Texas State scores a touchdown on their first drive again, and scores 31 points themselves during the course of the game. But the issue is their defense forced 2 punts all game, and the Red Wolves' defense scored 3 touchdowns of their own. There are the Bobcats that I know and love. The Bobcats had a complete stinker in this one, as they lost 77-31. Texas State goes into the final game of the regular season at 6 wins and 5 losses. The storyline going into the final week was the importance of Texas State fans to show up to impress bowl organizers and for the team to get another win to get invited to the best bowl game possible. Their opponent? South Alabama, who is also 6-5. The Cats are hosting this contest, and it's being broadcasted on NFL Network, which isn't a huge stage, but it's better for visibility than ESPN Plus week in and week out. Texas State did something that hadn't been done for half of the season. They did not score on their first drive of the game. Worry not, because they were able to score on a fumble recovery for a touchdown on South Alabama's first drive. The Bobcats kept it up with a strong first half, going to the locker rooms with a 31-17 point lead. The first half here included a special team strategy that was somewhat unique. The Bobcats would do a short kickoff to try and catch the return team off guard. This worked one time during the first half, leading to great starting field position and a field goal. The second half went back and forth. The Jaguars started the half off with a touchdown, but Texas State responded with 2 of their own. The second touchdown coming by way of a 24-yard pass to Cole Wilson. The teams then traded touchdowns to take the score up to 52-36 with 3 minutes to go. South Alabama was able to take the ball down the field and score a touchdown, leaving 1 minute and 2 seconds on the clock. Texas State held an 8-point lead and needed to recover the onside kick to secure the victory. They were able to get the job done, and TJ Finley took 3 knees to run out the clock and end the regular season with a victory. The Bobcats finished the regular season with 7 wins and 5 losses, tied for their best regular season record since they moved up to the FBS level. After all the games were over, there were not enough bowl-eligible teams to take every slot for bowl games, so the Bobcats were guaranteed to be selected. But it was still a mystery where they were going to be playing. The main prediction was for the Frisco Bowl, which was early in the bowl season. Many Texas State fans were tweeting with full expectation that was going to be the invite, and the social media team from the Frisco Bowl was playing into it. The surprise announcement on Bowl Selection Day was for Texas State to instead be playing in the First Responder Bowl in Dallas, Texas at Gerald R. Ford Stadium, home of the SMU football team. Their opponent was set to be the Rice Owls from the American Conference. Rice was a team that was 6-6 going into this game, qualifying for a bowl game by winning their last 2 games with backup QB A.J. Padgett leading the team. A.J. Padgett was the starting quarterback because their starter leading into the season, longtime college player and former USC Trojan and Georgia Bulldog, J.T. Daniels, was injured. He later formally retired from football due to medical concerns from multiple concussions. Rice was also led by their top receiver, Luke McCaffrey, whose name may sound familiar because he's the son of former NFL receiver Ed McCaffrey, and more well known now, he is the brother of the 2023 NFL Offensive Player of the Year, Christian McCaffrey. Going into the game, Texas State was the slight betting favorite in Vegas, but Rice had a small advantage in the ESPN Analytics predictor. Walking into the venue, it was quick to notice the difference in fan support. The walk from the parking lot to the gate made it quite clear that the Bobcat fans came out in full support. The Rice fans also had solid attendance driving up from Houston, but it was clear the venue was owned by the Texas State faithful. Sitting right behind the end zone, it was clear the Texas State side was nearly filled up, while the Rice side was much less crowded, even with some help from overflow Bobcat fans. Getting into the start of this game, the Bobcats got this one going on the ground. One long run by Ishmael set the tone for the drive, and Jamel Jeter was able to get the scoring started. The Bobcats continued their kickoff strategy that I mentioned in the previous game. Not successful this time, but the defense gets off to a good start, forcing a 3-and-out. Same result for Texas State on their second drive, as they punt it back to Rice, and coupled with the penalty, Rice is set up for a quick touchdown drive. Kickoff goes back to the Bobcats, and this time the ball is moved through the air, highlighted by a 32-yard pass to Ashton Hawkins to bring the ball down to the Rice goal line. On the third attempt to punch the ball in, Jeter gets his second touchdown of the game to reclaim the lead. A couple back-to-back punts on the next 2 drives leads to Rice having the ball at their own 24. This is when Brian Holloway, the so-called Captain America of the team, intercepts the ball and brings it back for a touchdown to stretch the lead to 14 points. Rice is able to score a couple touchdowns to tie the game at 21, with a few minutes left in the first half. The Bobcats get the ball back with 3 minutes and 40 seconds, and lead a methodical drive down the field, getting 5 first downs en route to a field goal as the clock expires to take the lead at the half. During the half, reports of something very interesting started being spread around the stadium and online. Many concession lines were starting to run out of beer. That's right. The Texas State fanbase, which at one point the low attendance of the fanbase was the reasoning for not inviting the team to a bowl game, showed up in force and early in the third quarter reportedly bought out all of the beer in the stadium. The official attendance for the game was 26,542, more than double the previous year's attendance and the highest that this bowl game has seen since moving to its current home. Getting back to the game, Texas State is kicking off the ball to the Owls to get the second half started. They continue with their short kick strategy, and this time it works. Bobcats get the ball deep in Rice territory as a result and move the ball down to the red zone. This drive is capped off by perhaps the highlight of the game. Finley pitches the ball to offensive lineman Nash Jones for a touchdown in what is officially ruled as a rushing touchdown for the big man. On the following Rice drive, everyone got to feeling a little bit of deja vu as Brian Holloway repeated what he did in the first half and got another pick six. The score, now at 38-21, remained that way for quite a bit of time. A total of 10 drives went by without a score until Mahdi gets a big run to set up Jeter for another touchdown to bring the lead to 45 points to 21. Another interception on Rice's ensuing drive allowed the Bobcats to take a couple of knees, and the Texas State Bobcats won their very first bowl game in their program's history. Right after the knee, something that is rare to see at bowl games occurred. The Texas State fans rushed the field, myself included. 200 miles away from Texas State campus, Bobcat fans rushed the field for a bowl game victory. Brian Holloway claims the MVP of the bowl game due to his 2 interception returns for touchdowns, in what was his final game of his college career as he declared for the NFL draft. Texas State are the first responder bowl champions and end their season at 8 wins and 5 losses, the best season for the program since their move to FBS. In the first season under head coach G.J. Kinney, He surpassed all expectations and earned himself a well-deserved extension and raise. Looking forward to next season, a bit of turnover from seniors graduating occurred, and with the transfer portal, of course there was a bit of players lost to the portal. But the general hopes for the next season are high after the initial waves of players departing and recruiting. The highlight of the offseason was the drama surrounding the starting quarterback. Malik Hornsby, early in the offseason, announced that he was transferring to Arkansas State to play as a wide receiver. During mid-January, Jaden DeLora, former Washington State and Arizona quarterback, announced that he was transferring to Texas State. This is only one day after an alleged civil sexual assault case was settled, so the reaction from the fan base was very negative. He had also been previously suspended from the Washington State team after he was arrested under suspicion of driving under the influence. He was later found criminally not guilty for this, but it didn't add on well for his character concerns. Protests were being arranged as alumni and students did not want a player with his history being the on-the-field leader for the team. During this time, last year's starter TJ Finley also announced he was transferring to Western Kentucky, as his starting spot was in jeopardy with DeLora entering the QB room. When asked, his agent said that they were not aware of DeLora's commitment until it was publicly announced. A few days later, after mounting pressure, Texas State Athletics announced that DeLora had withdrawn from Texas State. It would not be a part of the football program. Texas State was left with their quarterback room after all of this, being redshirt freshman PJ Hatter and true freshman Brad Jackson. Everyone was expecting for a new quarterback to be brought in to be the starter, as PJ Hatter was not expected to be ready to start quite yet. They were able to end the rumors by signing former James Madison quarterback and Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Year, Jordan McLeod. This brings us up to the present, with hopes being even higher for this upcoming season. However the next seasons pan out, the 2023 season was one to remember, and I am glad I was able to watch it, and I am glad I was able to share the story of it with all of you. Please leave a like and a comment down below. I'd really like to hear what type of content you want to see from me in the future.